Hi, welcome. This is the Coffee Break Show. I know it sounds a little bit like close and play today because, we got this on, but we still get to hear the music. See you in a second. I am I'm wicked excited this morning. I have to be telling you, but I want to talk to you a little bit about what's happening. This is my Blue Yeti. Yes, it gave up the ghost. And I ordered a new microphone, which should be here by the end of the week, hopefully. That'll be there. So next week we'll be using the SM7. That's a Shure SM7. Right now, I'm just going to be doing this show with this on because, man, this to me is pretty old fashioned. But at the same time, it's what's going to be here for today. Good morning. And, I love to see these faces walk on. So Jane's with us this morning, and I am so excited for that. And I see all the other people coming on. Today, I want to talk to you about something that's so important. A lot of people right now are wondering how they can have success happen more easily. And I want to give up the ghost today and say, okay, we're going to be talking deep about that as well. And I want to welcome you to this. It's going to be a bit of a woo-woo conversation today. It's going to be a little bit into the woo-woo pattern because one of the things is um, people want to know how it is that they can achieve more success, have more success. But I want to give you a couple of things. We've been talking on the page about being a, high achiever in your life. And when you're a high achiever, you have some habits. And right now, it's the fourth quarter of the year. We're going to be heading into September 22nd, which is the end of summer and the beginning of fall. And fall is my favorite time of year as we go into, closing out this year. And I start my self reflection in fall. Like, what do I want to do next year? What do I want to create? What is it that I want to do? I don't start in January. And to be honest, most high achievers start in the fall to start creating their next year. And I want to talk about how it is that we create a next year. So let's say you have maybe 4 or 5 goals that you want to achieve next year. And so we start addressing them and outlining them now. So I want to be able to look at you and just say, can you hear me now? Uh, I want to be able to say, can you hear me? Somebody tell me that you can hear me okay? Because I have this headset on and I want to make sure you guys can hear me. I see you popping on, but I don't want to have the conversation without being heard well. So, someone out there, I see you guys popping on. Put your name down below, become part of the conversation, and just say, yes, Vicky, we can hear you. Or somebody just say, yes, hearing is fine. Or no, we can't hear you. Or I just want to make sure everything's going correctly on this headset. Hearing you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. You sound great. Okay, that's good. Then I'm going to keep going. So, in the fourth quarter, I start thinking about the next year as well. And I start getting to the point where I see what I have to wrap up for this year. It's not just what are you going to start next year, it's what you're going to wrap up next year. And so, the things that I want to do, they're twofold. There's always the things your mind wants to do. But then there's this other thing that's in your heart. And your heart has a lot more power, or at least it does for me, at getting things done. Like if you love what you're doing, you're going to be doing it. If you want to complete something, you're going to be completing it. There is still time to accomplish so much in this fourth quarter. But what we have to do is begin to evaluate what we want to accomplish in this fourth quarter. What things do we want to close out in this fourth quarter that we have already begun, that we are creating in our mind? Now, what happens is when I get to the point where I'm evaluating what needs to be done, what still needs to be done, and I'm evaluating what I would like to have happen next year, or what things we're going to be launching next year, or what we're going to be doing, what I do is I get really reflective because sometimes by the end of the year, a project you started in January doesn't fit. The project you started in January doesn't happen. You're thinking, yeah, this doesn't go into next year. And you may have put a lot of time and effort into it, but you move it to the side. And there are other projects that you've done that you're like, yes, this one is full steam ahead. This one is the one that I want to take across, the finish line. And so what ends up happening is as you begin to evaluate those things, what you're going to do is your brain will come on and think you have to push everything across the finish line. But really, what happens is you want to push what's going to matter. What's going to matter? Those things that are going to matter, those are the things you want to get across the finish line. Now, how do you know if they matter or not? Well, I know regardless of whatever it is, I got to prepare my business to close out the end and pay the taxes for this coming year. So I know that's got to be done. Check. And maybe you're looking at how is it that I want to accomplish a new project or a new uh, book or a new whatever it is that you're doing, whatever you're evaluating, you want to evaluate it from the standpoint of how it's going to benefit them, how it's going to benefit you, how it's going to benefit the future. And the future right now is very fluid. I mean, there's somebody I talked to yesterday or the day before, and they were talking about how it is that we kind of have to be flexible and malleable because things are changing so fast in this universe. It's changing so fast that what was maybe a month or two relevant is not relevant anymore. So here's a couple of things I want to talk about. When you're at the beginning of the year, good morning, MJ. Nice to see you on. Happy Wednesday. You guys, I see you popping on. And as you pop on, I'm going to just say hello and bring you on. Here's my better half. Thank you for being here, love. And so, what I want to be able to talk to you about is how to take those things that matter and bring them to you more easily. The first things first, when you're choosing what you're going to do or how you're building your business or those things that you're going to do that are going to matter, you want to include how they're going to affect your business, how they're going to affect your life, how they're going to affect your client, how they're going to affect, how is it going to help them or not help them? And if it doesn't help them, move it out of the way. If it does help them and it helps you and it matters, then you want to move that project forward. One of the things that we often do is we get so married to a project that we don't actually evaluate the project's relevancy. And so a lot of times we test a project. Do you want to know this? Do you want to know how to do this? Like, for instance, we have this 10 days to write your book, and there's a lot of people coming to this workshop because there's still time. There's still 10 days to get that book you wanted to write this year done. So, a lot of people are like, yes, that project to me is really important. It's going to be important to my clients. It's going to be important to here. So, I want to tell you something. Now, I just want to clean a blank slate right here. I want to make a blank slate right here and say, we're going to start going into a little bit of woo woo. And that's the spiritual part of business, because I think one of the biggest things that happens during the year, no matter what, I don't care if you have 100 million, 200 million, if you're a billionaire, if you have 100,000 or you have 10,000 that you make in your business per year. What I know is that every year, every entrepreneur has some sort of breakthrough, and their business reflects where they are spiritually, emotionally, wherever their business, where they're blocked, where they have success, where they have everything. It's very much a mirror for you to look at and say, here's my business. This is where I want to grow. This is where I'm really growing. And this is where I'm really succeeding. And it has a lot to do. It's a mirror reflection of you. So when I start looking at what am I going to do next year, I sit down and I don't always use my brain. I do use my heart a lot. And I sit there and I think, what is it that your heart feels the most joy doing? What is it that it feels the most joy doing? Now, I want to be super clear here. I love to release books and I like to write a good chapter in a book. But overall, do I like writing books? Not all the time. I don't like to sit down every single day and write, 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 write. I can. I know how to do it. I know how to make it faster. But I love the result of writing a book so much. I love when it gets into the right hands. I love when somebody says, "Your book changed my life." I love that so much. I love it so much that it makes writing the book enjoyable. And in that writing the book for me, when I'm done writing a book and it gets out into the public, I trust the universe to do what it does best because that book will end up in somebody's hands who needs it, wants it, is reading it, it's beneficial for them, etc. When I get to the point where I'm launching a project or I'm launching, because I have a pretty big project launching as well, when I get there, I also get to the point where I look at where and who and how my breakthrough is going to happen. So here's all the things I want to accomplish. And I look for a system, a team, a community that I can be part of that's going to hold me accountable, that's going to help me when I get stuck, that's going to, show me how to do things if I don't know how or give me advice. I need to find a person who can XYZ, who do you know? Those kinds of people I look for and I have that tight community that does that. Um, for us, for us, we have the freedom seekers community, and the freedom seekers community are people who are actually building their business and they're building their message, of building their branding, they're building everything. And we work together there when you're in that freedom seekers way. The thing about the future is sometimes we don't even ask ourselves, what do we want? Or what kind of breakthrough do we want? Or what is my inner self saying that I should do? Because your inner self really knows what you want to do, where you want to be. And we often don't listen to that part of us. But if we can sit quietly and just allow ourselves to daydream, it will tell you what you want. It might tell you was like, I really want, a relationship that is this, and I want a house and I want this. And you may not know the exact house. You may not know the exact person, but your inner self is telling you where you want to grow, where you want to go, what do you want to do? It's there inside feeding you a little bit of information. And then the going about building that, that's when you say, how is it that I'm going to build this company, or how is it that I'm going to create this book, or whatever you're doing? How is it that you're going to do that? You want to ask your insides, not your mind. When I ask my insides, I understand. For me, I'm just going to go out here on a limb. For me, I feel like I have some master, some sort of guide, some sort of presence that exists in my life that will tell me, go left, go right, go forward, do this now. And my job is to make a relationship with that inner knowing, that inner voice, that intuition, that sense of guidance. When I make a relationship with that, it makes things easier because I'm not always trying to figure it out with my mind. Like, maybe you make big decisions, should I stay or should I go? Should I leave my job and start that business? Should I? When you say, should I, you're asking your brain. You're asking your brain. When you trust yourself and you say, this is actually you dare to say, this is actually what I want. What I actually want is XYZ. And when you are looking at your XYZ, and you're saying to yourself, how is it that I'm going to create this? How is it that I'm going to do this? You're now asking your inner self, how is it that I'm going to do this? And your brain is going to help. It's going to assist. If you say, should I leave my job? Shouldn't I leave my job? Should I start this company? What if I fail? You're talking to your brain. Your brain makes it harder and harder and harder for you to get and accomplish. That's the basis of everything. When you think your way through something, it gets harder and harder to do. When you ask that presence, the presence of you that is in that knowing and in that intelligence, and yes, everyone has that presence. Everyone has that inner guide, that inner wise one, the one who knows inside of you. Every person has that person in there. And if you don't know that you do, it's because you haven't accessed it. Usually, we access that person in some sort of an emergency, like, oh my gosh, when your mind is frozen and it doesn't know what to do, that inner voice can finally come through and it guides you. Go here, stay away from that man, go get that job, leave this now. It tells you what to do, and if you follow it, it's right 100% of the time. Not sometimes, all of the time. All that time, that inner voice is there. So there's a lot of chatter on the internet right now about the woo woo and inside of business because it's starting to happen. But your way forward, if you want to make it easier on yourself to accomplish, I ask for that guidance. How do I write this? How do you want me to write this? What do you want me to say? What do you want me? I ask that inner wisdom all the time. I don't talk to my brain. Now, how can you tell the difference between your insides and your brain? Because a lot of people think they're talking to their brain. They think they're asking, their inner self, but really they're just talking to their brain. It's how you ask. When you say, should I, could I, would I, that is definitely brain. When you say, how is it that I am? How is it that I am going to accomplish this? You're asking for directions, and it's vastly different than should I, could I, would I. When you're asking directions, there is something that believes that it's achievable. And when you believe that it's achievable, it will start to unfold itself. The energy field or your resonance of you has to believe that things are achievable. Yes. This is to me, follow your gut always. I always do. There is something very fundamental about our person that has already the answers that we are seeking with our brain are not outside of us. They're all inside of us. So when you're working with your personality, you're working with your brain. When you're working with your inner self, you're working with your soul and that inner guidance. So the world has gotten to the point where it's unpredictable. It's unpredictable. You can't move around or do things based on data and stats because we're in this movement right now. For instance, we're moving from SaaS to AI, and AI has a completely different set of rules. And it's made so that you follow it, not it follows you. I want to pop over here and listen. I've been guilty of asking, hearing the answer, and then arguing with it for rationale reasons that seemed illogical. I want to talk about this because this is so important. Thank you for this, Robin. One of the things that you do, I just remember this. I just remember this. I was young. I lived in California, and my entire being said, don't get on the freeway one day. Don't get on the freeway. And I was like, but I'm going to be late if I don't hop on that freeway. I need to go fast. And I heard take the back roads, but I argued with it the whole time. Take the back roads. And I was like, no, 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 no. And I got onto the freeway and there was this massive car accident way ahead of me. And if you ever lived in California or you live in California now, when there is an accident, there is miles of traffic. I mean, miles of traffic. It backs up for eons and it takes hours and hours to just creep along slowly. And I know you guys know what that's like. And I didn't listen. And I remember thinking to myself, yes, thank you, MJ. This is really true right here. Discernment is key. Discernment through this whole thing is key. But when something is talking to you, that the sabotage of the ego can come in, and we think that the ego knows its way around, and we can't tell the difference between our own inner selves and our own ego. And when that happens, We argue. Hashtag truth. Yeah, I know you're in California right now. You know what I mean. When there's an accident in California, it just keeps going on back and back. And right now, I remember that incident with everything. But I also remember the first time that I really heard that inner guidance come through me. If you've ever read my book, The Ultimate Freedom, there's a chapter I talk about when I was working on the weekends at a taco stand when I was in high school. And there was a night we got robbed there. And that night we got robbed, that guy was holding a gun to my stomach. And man, my mind didn't know what to do. And there it was, and I could see it was a revolver, and I could see the backside of the bullet there. And I was like, okay, that gun's really loaded. So I knew right then something took over and it wasn't me. And I listened to every single word it said, even when it told me what to say or what to do. And it kept me safe during the entire robbery. And the guy left, etc. The whole thing was done so that it was kind of safe for me. And from that moment on, I realized that my thinking was covering up something else that knew the answers to everything. And that when I wasn't listening, I was making things harder for myself. And that includes in business. I have been in a jam in business a couple of times, a jam, bad jam. And I remember just recently, um, I had a business partner that was brand new, and in about the third or fourth month, I knew I didn't want to work with her and I didn't want to be around her and I didn't want to know her. So I kind of wrote her a letter that just said, this is over and it's done. Well, during that time, I remember listening to that voice inside because there was some backlash of her. They were lies. And the backlash from all this lying, I remember I wanted to respond and everything else. But then I heard this voice say, don't say anything. Don't give your energy to it. Don't do this. So I didn't. I just pulled my energy back and I listened to exactly what it said. And I've also heard it say, yes, step in and do this. Put your money into this particular thing. And it boomed and it went really well. And so to me, it's like when I get up in the morning now, literally every single morning that I get up, I can hear what I'm supposed to do that day. Now, I want you to listen to this. I do not make a list of stuff to do every morning. I have a calendar, and in my calendar, I have the projects that need to be completed and the by when they need to be completed. When I get up in the morning, if it says, do this first, I do it. Then do this second, I do it. And listening and surrendering to the divine aspect of you will help you get more done in a day than you would otherwise get done just using your brain. I want you to hear that again because a lot of people are like, how do you and Tracy accomplish so much? Now, I'm going to be honest. Tracy and I, we work fast and we work great, and we have stuff that happens that we have to, one of our clients will say, hey, can you do this for us real quick? We'll stop and do it real quick and have it done. We have certain times where we meet with our students, our clients, and we're working with them, and we have scheduled time for that. But every single morning, I know what I'm supposed to do first, second, and third. I know where I'm supposed to take a break. I know that by the end of the day, I'm going to have accomplished more things than the average person does, more things than the average person can claim to do. And that's what Tracy does too. Tracy can get done more in a day by listening to that inward piece of us guide us through what we're supposed to do. We make it so hard on ourselves when you're not feeling creative and you're sitting down trying to force yourself because of whatever, this is what I want to do first. What if you just allowed this inner piece of guidance to tell you what your next best step is? Now, I'm not saying Now, I want to tell you, I've done both. I've done a business plan and started a business with a business plan. And then I've done what I call the fly by the seat of your pants business plan. But I've also done, and my favorite way to start a business is to allow the inner divine to show me the next business I'm supposed to start. Not only that, to show me who's the next person I'm to work with. What's the next project? What's the next book that's going to be written? And here's the co author of that book. And it happened just in the moment. That's how Tracy and I ended up working together. She was a guest on the Coffee Break Show. And I was really thankful for her. I mean, she got up at like 2 a.m. to be on the Coffee Break Show because she lives in Australia. And we were talking afterwards, and I was like, hey, let's write a book together. And boom, the She Myth came out. And when you look at that, that means you understand that you work with and for the divine. I know you think you working with for yourself, but if you run your business and understand that you work with the divine, whether you're, you know, making supplements or writing books or coaching people, the person that comes into your coaching room or coaching thing and pays for your program, there's 8 million people on the planet. The fact that they're with you is 1 in a 8 million, 8 billion chance. Sorry, not 8 million, 8 billion. There's 1 in 8 billion. They're absolutely supposed to be working with you. If you're making a product, whether it's for animals or people, you're the person who's supposed to be doing that. There is that part of whatever you're doing that, whether you're helping people with their money or helping their people with their mindset or helping their people with their medical, whatever it is, their relationship, you're the person that's supposed to be doing that. And the inner guidance inside you is going to tell you what your next best program can be. Yes, ask. Go ahead and put your little post out and ask everybody, what do you want to know about this subject? Or what do you want to know about this subject? Get some feedback. Yes. But what if the thing that put you in that room, in that spot with that career says to you, by the way, do this as a program or make this as a worksheet for people, do this for people. What if that thing absolutely knew what you were supposed to do? What if it knew what you were supposed to charge? What if it knew right away where you were supposed to go as your next best move? So here's what I want to say too as well. For some of you who are moving through the chain, I want you to ask yourself the next time you look at a program, what is it that you're going to have at the end of the program? And what do I mean by that? This is the time of year where coaching programs are going to start putting out their coaching program advertisements, hoping that you, by January, have decided that their program fits you best. So, and I want to really be clear when you sit down with that, because a lot of the programs are say, hi, this program is going to help you, stay on track with your goals. And inside it, you're going to get a Facebook group and a cheat sheet, and here's some videos, and here's this. But what are you going to have at the end of the year? What will you have? What kind of digital asset will you have at the end of the year? Because your goal is to build some assets and wealth and things that are going to make you freer over time. What are you going to have with that? How are you going to change, transform, and evolve and become that more than you can have? I know when we designed we have the Freedom Seekers Way. Like I said, we have Robin, would you do me a favor? Put the Freedom Seekers Way in there, by the way. Would you pop it in the thing so people can take a look at it? Our coaching program is for designed for a year. And at the end of the year, you're going to have a show and a business and a book and everything else out that you need to launch in a holistic manner. It's not that you're going to have a coaching thing for 1 year and then you're going to have you're going to know how to create an email list. And there it is. You know how to create an email list, or maybe you know how to make a Facebook ad. What are you going to have at the end of the year that you're investing in that year? And at the end of the year, you want to have something that is tangible and valuable and that brings you business long term. So a lot of times these coaching programs are going to be like, well, you'll have me every single week for a week. Okay, that doesn't help your bottom line very much. You want to make sure that you are following the wave. What do you want? First question you ask yourself, what do you want? And be daring, not use your brain. Well, I want this. Close your eyes and relax. And on your mind screen, you might see a vacation with your family. And it might be that you want more time and more money to be with your family and take them on these vacations. And maybe your mind screen shows you with a home way of making money from home so that you're with your family more. Or maybe you see a store, a brick and mortar store that is a dress shop. Or maybe you see whatever you see on that mind screen. Maybe you see yourself falling in love or doing whatever you're doing, whatever that mind screen is, that's what you want. And what you want is to dare to watch and believe in that fantasy. Maybe you are looking at that visualization and allowing it to happen. Maybe it's doing something you've never done before. Whatever it is, dare to believe you. Dare to believe you for 1 minute. Dare to look out for you and see what you want. And then you don't have to know how to do it. You have to ask that inner self, that inner guide, those people in the divine who want to help you. How is it that I'm going to make what I visualize happen? How is it? Now, here's the third key, and this is the last key that I want to talk about today. That third key is you have to pay attention. You have to develop your awareness because when the way is shown to you, you want to go, oh, that's the way. That's how I do it. That's the way forward. Most of the time, people can go, oh, yeah, I can visualize. Oh, I dare to believe in myself. I do. Then they just go on with their day and they forget to pay attention to the coincidence or what I call the magic. When the magic happens and you're asking, how is it that I'm going to do this? And they start telling you, when you see it, you're like, oh, this is how it's going to happen. Take an action and a step towards that. That's where faith comes in. And when you follow that faith, suddenly it'll turn into confidence. And then you'll start following that way, and voila, it'll make the way for you. Just follow that inner piece of you. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I've heard this before. I've heard this before. It is a lot easier to talk about when you're defensive or you're nervous or you're unsure of yourself. It's not so easy to follow. But can you just stop for a second and breathe? Stop for a second and breathe. Oh, thank you. The best program yet. I just love it. The coaches are amazing women. Thank you. They do challenge you and show you the way. Thank you very much. That is, wow, that is really something coming from you, MJ. Thank you. So, anyway, this is a time, this quarter is a time of reflection. What do you want? What are you going to have at the end of the year? Not what you're going to get. What are you going to have at the end of the year, at the end of the coaching program you do? At the where are you going to make your investment in yourself? What are you going to have at the end of the year? What is your inner self telling you is the next best thing? Follow that next best thing. Whatever you do, the more awareness you create, the more freedom you create. I want you to hear me with that. The more awareness you create, the more magic and the more freedom you'll have. That is just the key of awareness. It is a gateway, a doorway to actually the access of all the great things inside of you. And so today, as we begin this fourth quarter, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want to have? What do you want to have happen the next year? Relax and visualize and dare to believe in yourself. All right, you guys, there's only one thing left to do. I know you know what it is. I'll talk to you later, and everybody's got to listen to the music. See you later.